Hello, I'm John Wesley Lowery, Professor of Student Affairs and Higher Education at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I'm honored to have the opportunity to share the life and legacy of Dr. Donald David Gehring with you. Don Gehring was born in Trenton, New Jersey on October 9, 1937, but by high school, he and his family had moved to Asbury Park. He attended Asbury Park High School and Admiral Farragut Academy, a military-style college prep academy where he was active in the Naval Junior ROTC. Don would go next to the Georgia Institute of Technology, or Georgia Tech as it's more commonly known, where he earned his bachelor's degree in industrial management. It's fair to say that Don was a BMOC, a big man on campus. He was the head Georgia Tech cheerleader, chairman of the IFC trial board, as well as president of Theta Chi fraternity. From the time Don entered Georgia Tech, he would spend most of the rest of his life living in the South, with an exception of a 10-year exile in Northwest Ohio. Late in his life, he also began to spend more time in his native New Jersey with his partner, Rita Abrams. After he graduated from Georgia Tech, Don served in the Navy for 2 years. After his service, Don returned to school and earned his master's degree in education with a minor in math at Emory University. During his graduate studies, Don was also working in student affairs at Emory. Over the course of his graduate work, he played a variety of roles in student affairs, including Means Hall Director, Director of Student Activities, and Supervisor of Men's Housing and Assistant to the Dean of Men. Don's thesis at Emory was on the prediction of roommate compatibility. He would later publish this study in the Journal of College Student Personnel, which was later renamed the Journal of College Student Development. After graduating from Emory, Don went to West Georgia College, now the University of West Georgia, where he served as Director of Housing, a new position for the institution, and he oversaw a significant expansion of student housing. In 1969, Don went to the University of Georgia to pursue his doctorate in higher education. During his time at the University of Georgia, Don began his decades-long collaboration with D. Parker Young, who had joined the faculty in the Institute of Higher Education the previous year. While at Georgia, he worked closely with Parker, and his publications included briefs of selected court cases affecting student dissent and discipline in higher education, and The Other Side of the Coin, Due Process and Academic Affairs. After completing his doctorate, Don moved to Mars Hill College in North Carolina, where he served as Dean of Student Development and Assistant Professor of Education. This period will also lead to another important development, the founding of College Administration's Publications, which was led by Don and D. Parker Young, along with publisher George Searle. One of Don's most significant contributions to student affairs was through College Administration Publications. College Administration's Publications was one of the largest independent publishers of works on legal issues in higher education and student affairs for almost 3 decades, beginning with its founding in the early 1970s. The College Student in the Courts, which Don edited for many years, was the source for information about court decisions impacting higher education and student affairs, with its quarterly updates in the days before widespread internet access to court decisions. Don's other significant college administration publication monographs included Administering College and University Student Housing, Alcohol on Campus, a compendium of the law and a guide to campus policy, a handbook for compliance with the program and review requirements of the 1989 amendments to the Drug-Free Schools and Communities Act. And he also contributed chapters to many other college administration publications documents. In 1978, Don moved to the University of Louisville as a full-time faculty member in the Department of Higher Education and Educational Administration. While at Louisville, Don and his colleagues established the doctoral program in student affairs there. He also rose to the rank of full professor. He also taught internationally over the course of his career in several countries, including China, El Salvador, and Scotland. Don never stopped learning. In 1986, he returned to the University of Georgia during a sabbatical to study the principles of adult learning. In the early 1980s, Don began to regularly present at the new Law and Higher Education Conference, sponsored by the Stetson University College of Law. The earliest elements of the Association for Student Judicial Affairs, ASJA, began in 1986, when Don began to discuss with others his idea for a professional organization to serve the needs of campus judicial officers. In January 1987, Don convened a small group of interested people who were attending the Law and Higher Education Conference. This group met in the Coral Room of the Holiday Inn Surfside in Clearwater Beach. Those attending were overwhelmingly in favor of creating an organization and directed Don and a small steering committee to develop a constitution and begin to build a framework for a professional association. Ray Goldstone of UCLA contributed seed money to assist with these initial organizing efforts. Throughout 1987, members of the steering committee continued to meet. While some questioned whether another professional organization was needed, after all, there was Commission 15, Campus Judicial Affairs and Legal Issues of ACPA, as well as NASPA, who discussed these issues. But Don and his colleagues persisted. In 1988, Bob Bickel of Stetson University included the first formal organizational meeting of the Association for Student Judicial Affairs in the program at the Stetson University College of Law's Law and Higher Education Conference in Clearwater Beach. The group was assigned a room twice the size of the Coral Room, and it was packed. Don presided over this meeting, and those in attendance officially approved the name of the organization as the Association for Student Judicial Affairs, and an inaugural slate of officers was approved. Don would serve as the association's first president from 1988 until 1990. In 1989, ASJA held its first annual conference at the Holiday Inn Surfside in Clearwater Beach, Florida, in conjunction with the Stetson Conference. In his remarks at the conclusion of his ASJA presidency in 1990, Don observed, "Student judicial affairs is one of the most complex and demanding functions in student affairs, requiring individuals who can skillfully blend concepts of student development with an up-to-date knowledge of what the law requires. Individuals who see what many would consider as a negative as an opportunity to teach students in meaningful ways some of life's most important lessons." In 1991, Don moved to Bowling Green State University, where he taught in and directed the Higher Education Administration doctoral program until his retirement in December 2000. In 1993, ASJA held its first Summer Campus Judicial Affairs Training Institute, hosted by Don and Bowling Green State University. More than 130 people attended this inaugural Summer Institute. But what many people don't remember is that ASJA had sought to hold a summer academy in 1992 in Colorado, but it was canceled for lack of registration. Don stepped in to make the academy a reality. After holding a highly successful second Campus Judicial Affairs Training Institute at Bowling Green State University in 1994, the ASJA Board of Directors approved a resolution formally naming the institute the Donald D. Gehring Campus Judicial Affairs Training Institute. He regularly attended and contributed to the academy for many years after that, well after his retirement. At the 20th anniversary conference, research on the history of the association found that Don had presented at the annual conference more than any other individual. In fact, at that point, he had presented 35% more than the next people on the list. Before the annual conference in 2008, the ASJA Board of Directors created a foundation to raise money to support the organization's educational, scholarship, and leadership initiatives. President-elect Gary Dickstein asked Don to chair that foundation board. Later, the foundation board would be renamed in honor of Raymond H. Goldstone in recognition of his contribution of seed money to start the association and his many other contributions to ASCA. Don's involvement in and contributions to professional organizations were in no way limited to ASCA. With NASPA, he served 2 terms on the national board. For many years, he wrote the Abreast of the Law column in the NASPA Forum, and he was a board member for the NASPA Journal. With SACSA, the Southern Association for College Student Affairs, Don served as the association's president, and he also edited the College Student Affairs Journal. With the Council for the Advancement of Standards in Higher Education, Don represented both ASCA and SACSA for many years and was a very active participant in CAS's work. With ACPA, Don served as a senior scholar for 6 years. And with his fraternity Theta Chi, Don played a variety of leadership roles at the international level, including international secretary, international marshal, and international vice president. Don was a nationally recognized expert on law and policy issues in higher education. Over the course of his 5-decade-long career, he made countless presentations and published numerous journal articles in virtually every major student affairs journal. He wrote book chapters and monographs and books on this topic as well as others. He provided his legal and policy expertise to over 60 different institutions as a consultant and served as an expert witness in more than 30 legal cases. Research conducted by Dr. Ted Miller in 1999 identified Don as one of the 10 individuals who most influenced student affairs practice. Don's impressive array of national awards and commendations included the NASPA Award for Outstanding Contribution to Literature and the Robert H. Schaefer Award for Excellence as a Graduate Faculty Member. Don was the first person to win both of those awards. And additionally, NASPA recognized Don as a pillar of the profession. Likewise, ACPA elected him to senior scholar status, and SACSA awarded him the Melvin Draham Hardee Award for Outstanding Contribution to Student Affairs in Higher Education. And the Association of College and University Housing Officers International, ACUOI, bestowed him with the Distinguished Service Award. Theta Chi, his fraternity, recognized Don with its Distinguished Service Award and the Earl D. Rhodes Theta Chi for Life Award. Don was also recognized by ASCA multiple times, including the Distinguished Service Award in 1994, the D. Parker Young Award for Outstanding Scholarly Contributions in 1997, and the association renamed its award, recognizing exceptional individual contributions to the area of student conduct administration in his honor, the Donald D. Gehring Award. Among Don's more personal interests and passions were he was a lover of red wine and good food, ideally shared with friends and colleagues. Don was an avid stamp collector for much of his life, which helps explain the original ASJA logo, which featured a stamp design. Don had a great interest in Thomas Jefferson. He traveled multiple times to summer symposiums sponsored by the University of Virginia to learn more about Mr. Jefferson. It is this interest that explains the tradition that existed for about the first 25 years of ASCA's history, where the outgoing president was presented with an engraved Jefferson Cup. The Jefferson Cup was so named because in 1810, Jefferson commissioned a silversmith to make 8 cups for him based on Jefferson's design, and they have continued in their popularity. Especially after his retirement and he moved to St. Simon's Island, Georgia, Don became fascinated with the Revolutionary War. He amassed a very large library and often traveled to Revolutionary War sites and symposiums to learn more. Don was undoubtedly a larger-than-life character. When he was asked how he was going, his typical reply was, "Great, but I'm getting better." In what I believe was his last publication, The Keepers of the Profession, Don offered this advice: Higher education has faced many challenges, and there are even more on the horizon. The field of student affairs needs dedicated practitioners to be keepers of the profession, to provide leadership, inspiration, research, solutions to challenges, and individual and group contributions. As practitioners preserve and contemplate how to give back, they should keep in mind this story of the old hermit who lived in the forest. Now, at this point, I'm going to tell the same story that Don tells in the chapter, but I'm not going to attempt to read it. There were two boys who wanted to play a trick on a wise hermit who lived in the woods. One of the boys decided that he would hold a bird in his hand behind his back and ask the hermit if the bird was alive or dead. If the hermit said the bird was dead, the boy would simply release the bird to fly away. However, if the hermit said the bird was alive, he would crush the bird, killing it, to prove the hermit wrong. So the boys traveled to the woods with the bird, and he asked his question of the hermit. Hermit considered his question and then fixed his gaze upon the boys and replied simply, "It all depends on you." I now return to Don's text exactly as it was written. To the keepers of the profession, I ask, how will the student affairs profession develop? My answer is, it depends on you. As I mentioned earlier in my remarks, Don at Georgia Tech was a head cheerleader, chairman of the IFC board, and president of Theta Chi. In many ways, this foreshadows Don's entire career. He was a cheerleader for his students, young professionals in general, and the student affairs profession, especially the important work we do in student conduct. I don't think I have to even explain the connection to the IFC trial board. And Don would continue to be a leader and a builder of organizations and programs throughout his career. It is not hyperbole to say there wouldn't be an ASCA, and we wouldn't be where we are today as a field were it not for Don Gehring. To be fair, there probably would be an association for student conduct associations, but it would be a shadow of what our association is today. Donald David Gehring passed away on February 11th, 2020, at the age of 82. Don is no longer with us, but because of his work, his lasting legacy, and the lessons he taught many of us, we are great, but we're getting better.